I was sitting in the third row of the hospital auditorium on May 14th, 2023, watching my wife accept her residency completion certificate, my laptop open on my knees and my finger hovering over send. And I remember thinking, with this sick calm that scared me, that the next 60 seconds were going to destroy 2 careers, 3 relationships, and 4 years of lies. If you've got some time, maybe grab a drink or something, because this one's a journey. I'm talking about the kind of story where you look back and can't quite believe it happened to you, except it did, and I've got the receipts, literally. So here's the question that probably sounds insane. Why did I wait 4 entire months after discovering my wife's affair to do anything about it? Why sit on evidence that would have ended everything immediately? The answer is simple, really. I wanted to make sure that when I finally pulled the trigger, there would be no room for denial, no space for her to spin the narrative, no way for anyone to say I was the crazy jealous husband who misunderstood. I spent 4 years being the supporting character in someone else's story. For once, I was going to control how it ended. This is the story of how I sacrificed everything to support my wife through medical residency, only to discover she'd been using my unconditional support as cover for an 18-month affair with her boss. It's about how I went from eating Chinese takeout alone on our anniversary to standing in front of 150 people with a PowerPoint presentation that would make a data analyst proud. And it's about what happened after. The fallout, the guilt, the question of whether I went too far, and the long road back to actually recognizing myself in the mirror. But let me start at the beginning, because you need to understand who I was before all this. You need to understand what I gave up, what I believed in, and how thoroughly I erased myself. Otherwise, the revenge won't make sense. I met Emily Carter in the summer of 2019. I was 25, fresh out of my teaching credential program, excited about my first real job teaching high school math. She was 27, just starting her first year of medical school, brilliant and driven, and somehow still making time to swipe right on. A guy whose idea of excitement was solving calc problems for fun. Our first date was at this Italian place downtown. She ordered wine, I ordered beer, and we talked for 3 hours about everything. Her dreams of becoming a surgeon, my passion for teaching, how we both came from families that valued hard work and loyalty. Her parents were upper middle class, the kind of people who had a family legacy at their country club. Mine were solidly middle-class Midwestern. My dad, Tom, worked in manufacturing. My mom, Linda, was a school secretary, but we clicked anyway. Emily was intense in the best way back then. When she talked about medicine, her whole face lit up. She'd lean forward, hands gesturing, describing surgical procedures with this reverence that made you believe she was going to change the world. And maybe I was naive, but I found it attractive. Here was someone who knew exactly what she wanted, who wasn't afraid of the work it would take to get there. We got married in February 2020, right before COVID shut everything down. Small ceremony, had to be with the pandemic, but it felt right. We stood there in front of maybe 20 people and made all the standard promises. Partnership, support, in sickness and in health. I meant every word. The thing about medical school, though, is that it doesn't care about your promises. Emily was in her second year when we got married, and the workload was already brutal. She'd come home exhausted, sometimes crying about failed exams or attendings who'd humiliated her during rounds. And I got it. Medicine is hard, so I adjusted. I took a part-time position at the high school instead of full-time. The pay was less, but it meant I could handle more of the housework, be available when Emily needed me. I meal prepped her lunches every Sunday, made sure the apartment was clean, took care of every little thing so she could focus on studying. My parents thought I was crazy, my dad especially. He pulled me aside one Thanksgiving and asked, "Son, are you happy?" And I said yes, because I believed it. I was helping someone I loved achieve her dreams. What could be wrong with that? Then came match day in 2021. Emily matched into general surgery at University Medical Center, one of the most competitive programs in the country. She screamed when she opened the envelope, jumped into my arms, kissed me hard. "We did it," she said. Not I did it. We. Like I'd been there in the OR with her, not just at home making sure she had clean scrubs. But here's where things really changed. Residency started that July, and it was like someone flipped a switch. Emily went from stressed medical student to barely there ghost. The hours were insane. 80, sometimes 100 hours a week, according to her. She'd leave at 5 in the morning, come back at 10 at night if I was lucky. Some nights she didn't come back at all. Overnight call, she'd text, "Don't wait up." And I didn't. I waited at the kitchen table with dinner getting cold, then eventually just started eating alone. I'd text her goodnight. She'd respond with a heart emoji hours later, and I'd tell myself, this was normal. This was residency. Every doctor's family went through this. Our first anniversary as a married couple fell during her first year of residency. I'd planned this whole thing, booked a hotel room downtown, made reservations at the French place she loved, even took the day off work. I was going to surprise her, remind her that we still existed outside of the hospital. But at 3 in the afternoon, my phone buzzed. "Emergency surgery. I'm so sorry. I'll make it up to you." I sat there in our apartment, staring at that text, and something small and sharp lodged itself in my chest. I didn't name it then, didn't want to. Instead, I ordered Chinese takeout, ate it while watching Netflix, and told myself that residency was temporary. Once she finished, once she wasn't attending, we'd get back to normal. We'd have time again. If you've ever been in a relationship where you're constantly making excuses for someone, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You build this whole narrative in your head about why things are the way they are, why you have to be patient, why you can't ask for more. And the scary part is, you start to believe it. You start to think that wanting attention, wanting connection, wanting your partner to actually be present is somehow selfish. I went full-time, supporting Emily financially too. Her student loans were crushing, $2,800 a month. On a resident salary of maybe $60,000 a year before taxes, there was no way she could handle it. So, I made a decision. I drained my savings account. About $45,000 I'd been building since my first teaching job. Then, I cashed out my 401k early, took the tax hit, and used it to cover her loans for the first 2 years. Total? $180,000 by the time everything was said and done. Emily cried when I told her I'd done it. "Happy tears," she said. "You're amazing. Once I'm an attending, I'll pay you back triple. This is an investment in us." She kissed my forehead, and I felt like a goddamn hero. My dad asked me again if I was happy. This time, I lied and said yes. The isolation crept in slowly, like hypothermia. First, it was my college buddies, Mark, Chris, Tyler, the guys I used to have poker night with every Friday. I started canceling because Emily might be home, might need me, might actually have a free evening. After about 6 months of cancellations, they stopped inviting me. I didn't blame them. Then it was my career. My principal offered me the department chair position in spring 2022. More money, more responsibility, a real step forward. I turned it down because the hours would have been less flexible. And what if Emily needed something? What if she had a crisis and I wasn't available? By the second year of her residency, I'd gone from being Michael Brooks, math teacher with hobbies and friends and a life, to being Emily's husband. That was my entire identity. The guy who supported the resident. The guy who understood that medicine comes first. The guy who ate dinner alone 6 nights a week and pretended it was fine. Our sex life died somewhere around month 8. We went from a couple times a week to once a month to basically nothing. Emily was always too exhausted, too traumatized by whatever had happened at the hospital that day. "A patient died during my shift," she'd say, tears in her eyes. "I can't think about anything else right now." And I'd hold her, tell her it was okay, we didn't have to do anything. What kind of monster would pressure their wife for sex after she'd watched someone die? Looking back now, I can see all the red flags I ignored, but in the moment, when you're that deep in the narrative you've built, you don't see them. You see a woman working herself to death for a noble cause. You see yourself as the good husband, the supportive partner, the guy who doesn't complain because complaining would make you one of those selfish spouses who doesn't understand the realities of medicine. December 2022 was when things shifted in a way I couldn't quite name. Emily started talking about Dr. Richard Hayes more frequently, her attending, supervising physician. At first it was complaints. "He's such a hard ass. He makes us stay late for rounds even when there's nothing urgent. He ripped apart my presentation in front of everyone today." But then the complaints got weird. They'd be followed by, "But he's brilliant, the best surgeon I've ever seen." Or, "He's intense, but it's because he cares about excellence." The way she said his name changed too. Less irritation, more, something else. Respect, admiration. I couldn't put my finger on it. And then one night in January, I noticed Emily's phone was password protected. It hadn't been before. We'd always had this casual openness, phones lying around, no locks, no secrets. Now there was a 6-digit code I didn't know. "When did you add a passcode?" I asked, trying to keep my voice light. She barely looked up from her laptop. "Hospital requires it for HIPAA, patient information security." It made sense, totally reasonable explanation. Except something in my gut twisted, that same small, sharp feeling from our forgotten anniversary, except stronger now. I didn't say anything. What was I going to do? Accuse her of something based on a phone password? I'd sound insane. But I started noticing other things. She'd smile at her phone sometimes, this little secret smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. She'd step out of the room to take certain calls. She started dressing nicer for work. Not scrubs, but the clothes she wore before and after shifts. New perfume appeared in the bathroom, and the hours got worse. She'd text me at 7 p.m., stuck in the OR, probably another few hours. Then I wouldn't hear from her until 1 or 2 in the morning. Some nights she wouldn't come home at all. "Overnight trauma rotation," she'd say. "Dr. Hayes assigned me. It's brutal, but it's good experience." Always Dr. Hayes. Always some rotation or surgery or emergency that couldn't be avoided. Our 5th anniversary was coming up. Valentine's Day 2023. I decided I was going to make it special no matter what. I booked the same hotel room I'd booked the year before, the one we never used. I made reservations at the expensive restaurant. I bought flowers, got a card, planned the whole thing. This was going to be the night we reconnected. I was going to remind her why we got married in the first place. February 14th, 2023. I waited until noon to text her the plan, wanting it to feel spontaneous and romantic. "Happy anniversary. I've got a surprise for tonight. Hotel room plus dinner reservations at 7. Just the 2 of us. Can't wait." 3 hours passed before she responded. My stomach was already sinking before I even read it. "Emergency overnight shift. Dr. Hayes assigned me to Trauma Bay. I'm so sorry. I'll make it up to you. I promise." I stared at that text for a long time. 5 years of marriage, 2 years of her residency. And I was going to spend another anniversary alone. I didn't cry, didn't get angry, just felt this numb resignation settle over me like a weighted blanket. I canceled the hotel, canceled the restaurant, and ordered Chinese takeout. Sat at our kitchen table in the silent apartment, eating lo mein straight from the container, looking at our wedding photo on the shelf. The people in that picture looked so happy, so hopeful. I didn't recognize them anymore. That night, sitting there alone, I had this thought that scared me. When did I become the kind of person who accepts this? When did I decide that being invisible was the same as being supportive? I still didn't have an answer, and I still didn't do anything about it. I should have seen it then. The signs were flashing neon, but I didn't want to see them, because seeing them would mean acknowledging something I wasn't ready to acknowledge. So I went to bed that night, and I pushed the thought down deep, and I told myself, tomorrow would be better. I had no idea that was the last normal night of my life. The next day, February 15th, changed everything. I was in bed around midnight, almost asleep, when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't check it. Figured it was spam. But something made me look. "Hi, I don't know you, but I think we need to talk. My name is Jessica Martinez. I'm engaged to Dr. Richard Hayes. I found something tonight that involves your wife." I sat up so fast I got dizzy. Read it again, then again. Attached to the message was a photo of a hotel receipt. Marriott Downtown, room 417. Check-in time, 11:47 p.m., February 14th, 2023. 2 names on the reservation, Richard Hayes and Emily Brooks. My anniversary, the night she told me she was working an emergency overnight shift. She'd been at a hotel with her boss. The room started spinning. I couldn't breathe right. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. There had to be an explanation. A work emergency and they needed somewhere to crash? Separate rooms and the receipt just listed both names? Something. Anything that wasn't what my brain was screaming at me. But deep down, in that place you can't lie to yourself, no matter how hard you try. I knew. I'd known for months, probably. I just hadn't wanted to admit it. I didn't sleep that night. just lay there staring at the ceiling. That receipt image burned into my brain while Emily slept peacefully next to me. Or maybe she wasn't sleeping. Maybe she was awake too, thinking about him. I don't know. I didn't ask. Couldn't. By morning, I'd made a decision. I called in sick to work, first time in 4 years, and sat in my car in the parking lot of a grocery store, hands still shaking, and called the number back. Jessica answered on the second ring. Her voice was shaky too. Michael? Yeah. Tell me what you found. She took a breath, and I heard her trying not to cry. I was doing laundry last night, found the hotel receipt in Richard's jacket pocket. He told me he was on call at the hospital. Your wife told you the same thing, didn't she? She said it was an emergency overnight shift. They're lying. Both of them. Jessica's voice cracked. I logged into our shared credit card account. There are 5 other hotel charges over the last 8 months. Always the Marriott, always the same room, always nights when Richard told me he was at the hospital. The grocery store parking lot felt too bright, too normal. People were walking past with shopping carts, completely unaware that my entire life was imploding. How did you get my number? I managed to ask. I Googled your wife's name, found her Facebook. You were tagged in her profile. I needed to know if I was crazy, if there was some explanation I was missing. There isn't, I said. The words tasted like metal. Is there? No. Long pause. I'm a surgical resident too, same hospital. We're trained to trust evidence over instinct. The evidence is pretty clear. We sat there in silence for a moment, 2 strangers connected by the worst thing that had ever happened to us. Then Jessica said something that changed everything. I have access to the hospital badge logs. Every physician and resident has to badge in and out of secure areas. ORs, ICU, trauma bay. If Emily was actually working overnight, there'd be a record. My math teacher brain kicked in immediately, cutting through the grief. We could compare what she told me to where she actually was. Exactly. Can you pull the data? Already did, Jessica said. Pulled 18 months worth, 847 entries total. 20 minutes later, we were sitting in a coffee shop, Jessica's laptop between us, looking at a spreadsheet that would eventually destroy 2 careers and 3 relationships. The columns were simple. Date, Emily's claimed location, actual badge activity, discrepancy. I'd kept every text Emily had sent me over the past 1.5 years. Every working late tonight and overnight shift and stuck in the OR. Jessica and I went through them one by one, cross-referencing with the badge data. The pattern was devastating. Of the 73 nights Emily told me she was working overnight, she'd actually badged out of the hospital between 6:30 and 8 p.m. on 48 of them. No return badge in until the next morning shift. Where was she those nights? I asked, even though I already knew. Jessica clicked to another tab, the credit card charges, hotels. Every single one matched a night when Emily claimed to be at the hospital, but the badge data said she wasn't. I felt something cold and sharp crystallize in my chest. It wasn't rage yet, just clarity. The sudden, brutal clarity of seeing the truth after lying to yourself for so long. I paid for this, I said quietly. I drained my retirement account, my savings, everything I had to cover her student loans so she wouldn't be stressed about money during residency. And she used that time, that money, to sneak off to hotels with him. Jessica looked at me. Her eyes were red. Richard and I have been together for 2 years, engaged for 6 months. I've been planning our wedding. He left his wife for me, or at least that's what he told me. Were they together then too? I asked. I don't know, but I'm going to find out. She pulled up another spreadsheet, Venmo transactions. Richard Hayes's public payment history. There they were, multiple payments to Emily over 18 months. The descriptions made me want to vomit. Dinner, 85, coffee, 45 hours, best resident ever, 120. And the last one, dated February 14th. You're amazing, 380. The cost of the hotel room, our anniversary. I'd spent 4 years believing her story. Turns out I should have been reading the data. What do we do? Jessica asked. The question hung there. We could confront them now, march into the hospital, throw the evidence in their faces, make them admit it. But we both knew what would happen. They'd lie, gaslight us, tell us we were misinterpreting, being paranoid, jealous. Emily would cry about residency stress. Richard would play the concerned attending, worried about how the brutal hours were affecting his residents' personal lives. They'd close ranks, delete evidence, get lawyers. No. If we were going to do this, we needed to do it right. We wait, I said. We keep gathering evidence. We make sure when we finally pull the trigger, there's no room for denial. Jessica looked at me for a long moment. You're angrier than you look. Yeah, good. She closed her laptop. Emily's graduation is in 3 months, May 14th. That's when we do it. I opened a new folder on my laptop that night, titled it The Cost of Residency. Started organizing everything into subfolders, badge logs, financial records, communications, timeline. Jessica and I became partners in the strangest project of my life, systematically documenting an affair while pretending everything was normal. The next 2 months were surreal. I went to work, taught my classes, came home, made dinner, smiled at Emily when she walked through the door. She had no idea. I'd gotten so good at being invisible that being fake wasn't much different. But inside, I was building something. Late at night, while Emily was at the hospital, actually at the Marriott, according to badge logs, I worked on the presentation, PowerPoint slides, charts, and graphs. Every piece of evidence laid out with the cold precision of a math proof. March 10th was when I needed to see it for myself. Emily told me she had mandatory overnight trauma rotation that Friday. I couldn't help it. I had to know for sure. I tracked her location through Find My iPhone, old shared Apple account she'd forgotten about. Watched the blue dot move through the city, not toward the hospital, toward downtown, toward the Marriott. I drove there, parked across the street, sat in my car for 3 hours, feeling like a stalker, hating myself, unable to look away. At 11:47 p.m., Emily and Richard walked into the hotel lobby together. His hand was on the small of her back. She was laughing. They looked like a couple. They looked how we used to look. I watched them disappear into the elevator, and then I started crying. Not the quiet, dignified kind. The ugly, chest-heaving, can't-catch-your-breath kind that you hope nobody sees. I cried until I dry-heaved, cried until there was nothing left. Then I drove home, climbed into bed beside my wife, and lay there in the dark thinking about revenge. The next week was bad. I called in sick to work 3 days in a row. Couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Just lay in bed running the numbers in my head. $180,000 in loans and savings. 4 years of my life. My career opportunities given up. My friendships abandoned. My identity erased. And she'd been planning to leave me anyway. I found her planner one afternoon when she was at the hospital. She wrote everything down, meticulous about her schedules. There it was, July 2023. Talk to Michael, start separation. Next page, attending position starts August 1st, financial independence. She'd planned the whole exit strategy. String me along through graduation, secure her attending job, achieve financial independence, then discard me amicably. I wondered if Richard was going to leave Jessica at the same time. A coordinated desertion. I stood there in our bedroom, looking at our wedding photo on the dresser, and barely recognized the guy in that picture. What happened to him? When did he disappear? That was my lowest moment. I seriously considered just walking away, packing a bag, leaving a note, disappearing. Let her win, let them both win. Fighting felt exhausting. But then I thought about the badge logs, the spreadsheet, the 180,000s, the Chinese takeout on our anniversary, 4 years of being invisible, and something cold and sharp settled into place where my heart used to be. I called Jessica. I'm in. Graduation ceremony, in front of everyone. We spent the next 2 months preparing like we were planning a military operation. Jessica pulled Richard's expense reports. He'd been charging resident mentorship dinners to the hospital budget. $4,800 worth of dates with Emily, disguised as professional development. That was a fireable offense all by itself. I met with a divorce attorney, Sarah Chen, good lawyer, stone-cold professional. She reviewed my evidence and just stared at me. This is the most comprehensive documentation of an affair I've ever seen. I'm a math teacher, I said. I appreciate thorough data. We drew up divorce papers, but held them. I'd file the morning of graduation, serve Emily during the reception, maximum impact. We legally separated my finances too. opened new bank accounts, moved my paycheck, removed Emily as beneficiary on my life insurance. By the time graduation rolled around, I'd be financially untangled. The presentation took shape. I spent hours perfecting it. 20 slides. Cold, clinical, devastating. Slide 1. Our wedding photo. 4 years of partnership, a data analysis. Slides 2 through 5, the investment. Charts showing $180,000 in payments. Photos of me eating dinner alone. Timeline of career sacrifices. Slides 6-10, the returns. Beige log, data visualized. Maps showing hotel locations versus hospital. Emily's claimed schedule versus actual schedule. Slides 11-15, the hidden costs, screenshots of texts, hotel receipts. The anniversary revelation, side-by-side comparison of what she told me versus where she actually was. Slides 16-20, the ethical violations. Hospital policies on attending resident relationships. Misuse of hospital budget, potential licensing issues. Final slide, divorce papers. Closing statement. I practiced the delivery in my empty classroom after school, timing it. 8 minutes, 12 seconds. I practiced staying calm, keeping my voice even, letting the data speak for itself. Emily personally invited me to give a toast at her graduation reception. She wanted me to stand up in front of everyone and congratulate her. Play the supportive husband one last time. I told her I'd be honored, that I'd prepared something special. She smiled and kissed my cheek. "You're the best," I smiled back. "You have no idea." The night before graduation, May 13th, Emily was almost giddy. "I can't believe tomorrow is finally here. 4 years. We made it, Michael. We actually made it." She fell asleep next to me around 11. I lay there wide awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the presentation loaded on my laptop, thinking about the divorce papers in my bag, thinking about how tomorrow, in front of 150 people, I was going to blow up her entire world. Did I feel guilty? A little. Did I feel justified? Absolutely. At 6:00 a.m., my alarm went off. Emily stirred beside me, still half asleep. I got up, got dressed, triple-checked my laptop bag. Today was the day I stopped being the supporting character in someone else's story. The ceremony started at 2 p.m. University Medical Center Auditorium, 200 seats, nearly full. I sat in the third row. Emily's parents, Patricia and David Carter, were in the front row, beaming with pride. My own parents were further back. They knew something was off, but not what. The hospital administration sat on stage. Dr. Richard Hayes was up there too, looking polished in his suit, ready to hand out completion certificates to the graduating residents. 30 residents in their robes, all smiling, all relieved to finally be done with the hell of training. Emily's name was called. Dr. Emily Brooks, General Surgery. She walked across the stage, shook hands with the program director, then with Richard. They held eye contact for just a beat too long. I watched her scan the crowd, find me, wave. I waved back but didn't smile. Her smile faltered for half a second. Does he seem off? But she shook it off, took her seat with the other graduates, clutching her certificate. After the ceremony, everyone moved to the conference hall next door for the reception. Tables with food, open bar, podium with microphone and projector screen. Several people gave short toasts, generic congratulations, jokes about residency survival. Then Emily's father, David, stood up and gave this emotional speech about his daughter's dedication, how proud he was, how she'd overcome so much. People clapped. Emily wiped away tears. Then Emily herself took the microphone. "Before we continue, I want to call up my husband, Michael. He's been my rock through all of this." She looked right at me, eyes shining. "Honey, would you say a few words?" The room applauded. I stood up, grabbed my laptop, walked to the podium, plugged the HDMI cable into the projector feed. The screen behind me lit up. I looked out at the crowd. Emily's parents in front, beaming. My parents in back, confused why I had a laptop. Jessica Martinez sitting off to the side, rigid with tension. Richard Hayes at a table near the stage, smiling casually, not yet understanding what was about to happen. And Emily, standing beside the podium, looking at me with such trust, such expectation. I opened my laptop, clicked to the first slide. "Thank you, Emily," I said, my voice steady. I've actually prepared a presentation. I thought, since this is such a milestone, we should look back at the journey that got us here. The slide appeared behind me, our wedding photo, big and bright. Title underneath, 4 years of partnership, a data analysis. A few people chuckled, thinking this was going to be a sweet multimedia toast. Emily looked confused. When did he make a presentation? But she smiled anyway, probably thinking I was being sentimental. 4 years ago, I continued, when Emily started residency, we made promises to each other, partnership, support, sacrifice. Click, next slide. A chart showing my financial contributions. Over these 4 years, I contributed $180,000 toward Emily's student loans and living expenses. That's my retirement savings, the money I'd been building since my first teaching job, all of it gone to support her dream. The room got quieter. People were starting to sense this wasn't a normal toast. Click. Timeline of my career sacrifices. I went from full-time to part-time teaching. I declined a promotion to department chair because the hours would be less flexible. I restructured my entire life to be what Emily needed. Click. Photos of me sitting alone at our dinner table. Empty chair across from me. Many nights, I ate alone. Emily was working. Or at least, that's what I believed. The atmosphere shifted. You could feel it. People glancing at each other. Emily's smile freezing on her face. But here's the interesting thing about hospitals, I said, voice getting colder. They track everything. Badge logs, clock-ins, clock-outs. Click, spreadsheet. 847 rows of data filling the screen. This is 18 months of Emily's badge activity at University Medical Center. Every time she entered or left a secure area, it was recorded. Emily stood up from her table. Michael, what are you... Please, I said, not looking at her. Let me finish. You said I could give a toast. The room was dead silent now. Click, side-by-side comparison. Left column, what Emily told Michael with screenshots of her texts. Working overnight. On-call shift. Trauma rotation. Right column. Where Emily actually was, with badge logs showing she'd left the hospital at 7 p.m., didn't return until morning. Of the 73 nights Emily claimed to be working overnight at the hospital, she was actually there for only 25 of them. You could hear someone drop a fork. That's how quiet it was. Michael, stop! Emily's voice was loud now, panicked. I ignored her. Clicked to the next slide. Hotel receipts, highlighted. Marriott downtown, room 417, multiple dates. The other 48 nights she was here. I pointed at the screen. Always the same hotel, always the same room. Click Venmo transactions. Richard Hayes' name at the top. Payments to Emily Brooks. Dinner, coffee, best resident ever. The camera on Richard Hayes showed him going white. Jessica Martinez stood up from her seat, staring at him like she'd never seen him before. And here, I said, clicking to the slide I'd been building toward, is my personal favorite. February 14th, 2023. Split screen, left side, my texts. Happy anniversary, can't wait for tonight. Emily's reply, emergency overnight shift, so sorry. Right side, hotel receipt. Check-in time, 11:47 p.m. Names, Richard Hayes and Emily Brooks. Our 5th wedding anniversary. I ate Chinese takeout alone in our apartment while my wife was at the Marriott with her attending physician. The room erupted. Gasps, shocked whispers. People pulling out phones. Patricia Carter stood up, face red. How dare you? I clicked to the next slide. Hospital policy document. Highlighted section about prohibited relationships between attendings and residents. Dr. Richard Hayes has been Emily's direct supervisor for 2 years. He evaluates her performance. He controls her schedule. He writes her recommendations. According to this policy, romantic relationships between attending physicians and residents under their supervision are strictly prohibited. They constitute ethics violations, subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination. I looked at the hospital administration in the front row. I believe you'll want to investigate this thoroughly. Richard tried to leave the stage. Security, who'd been quietly alerted by hospital admin during my presentation, blocked the exit. Final slide. Divorce papers, projected huge on the screen. Emily, these papers were filed this morning. You're being served. Our marriage is over. A process server materialized from the back of the room, walked up to Emily with physical copies. She was crying now, mascara running. "How could you do this here?" I looked at her for the first time since starting the presentation. Really looked at her. "You wanted me to give a toast?" I said quietly. "I'm toasting to the truth. I spent 4 years believing your story. Turns out, I should have been reading the data." I closed my laptop, unplugged it, and walked off the stage. The room exploded into chaos, people shouting, Emily sobbing, Patricia Carter screaming at me, David standing there, looking shell-shocked, Richard trying to approach Jessica, who was walking away fast, hospital administrators huddled together, already on their phones. I walked straight through the crowd. It parted like the Red Sea. Nobody tried to stop me. My dad Tom was waiting by the door, exactly where we'd planned. We got into his truck without saying anything. He started driving. I was shaking. Adrenaline dump. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. "You okay, son?" Tom asked quietly. "No," I said. "But I will be." My phone started blowing up immediately. 40 texts in the first 5 minutes. Missed calls, voicemails. I turned it off. As we drove away, I looked back at the hospital auditorium. Through the window, I could see Emily collapsed in a chair, surrounded by people, her perfect day destroyed. I felt nothing. Just numb. By that evening, video clips of the presentation were all over social media. Multiple people had recorded it on their phones. Hospital staff WhatsApp groups were going crazy. Medical resident forums on Reddit were dissecting it. Local Twitter had it trending. I turned my phone back on to find 200+ notifications. Text messages from people I hadn't talked to in years. "Holy shit, I just saw the video. Dude, are you okay?" That was the most insane thing I've ever seen. An email from hospital PR. "We request you remove all presentation materials from public circulation." I never posted them. Other people did. That's not on me. Emily moved back to her parents' house that night. I know because Patricia called and left me a screaming voicemail about how I'd humiliated her daughter, how I was vindictive and cruel, how I'd destroyed Emily's career over one mistake. David sent a text. "I don't condone what Emily did, but what you did was excessive. You destroyed her career. I hope you're satisfied." Emily's best friend Sarah texted, "She's having a panic attack. She can't breathe. Are you happy now?" I read that one and felt the first flicker of doubt. Did I go too far? The hospital moved fast. By Monday, they had launched an ethics investigation. Richard Hayes was suspended with pay pending review. Jessica broke off their engagement via text. Richard's ex-wife filed for custody modification, using the graduation scandal as evidence of moral character issues. The investigation took a week. They interviewed witnesses, reviewed the badge logs I'd provided, checked Richard's expense reports, discovered he'd charged 12 resident mentorship dinners to hospital budget, $4,800 total, that were actually dates with Emily. 2 other residents came forward during the investigation. Richard had done this before. This wasn't his first inappropriate relationship with someone he supervised. The hospital terminated Richard, referred his case to the state medical board for license review. Emily faced a disciplinary hearing. She wasn't the supervisor, so the power imbalance wasn't on her, but she'd participated knowingly. She was allowed to finish her last 2 weeks of residency, but barred from chief resident duties. Worse for Emily, her attending position offer at a different hospital was rescinded. They cited concerns about professional judgment. Without a job lined up, without the career trajectory she'd spent 4 years building, she was stuck. The medical board sent her a formal letter. No license revocation, she hadn't violated patient care, but a formal reprimand on her permanent record. Mandatory ethics course. Her mentor, a female attending who championed her throughout residency, sent a disappointed email that Emily showed me later during divorce proceedings. "I went to bat for you. I believed in you. I fought for you to get opportunities. This is how you represent women in surgery?" Even Sarah Chen, her best friend and co-resident, distanced herself. "I love you, but I can't be publicly associated with this right now. My own career is starting." 2 weeks after graduation, I got a call from Patricia, Emily's mom. She was crying. "She tried to hurt herself last night," Patricia said. Took a bottle of pills. David found her and called 911. She's in psychiatric hold now. My stomach dropped. What? She couldn't take it anymore. The shame, the ruined career, everyone hating her. You did this to her. This is your fault. She hung up. I sat there in my apartment, staring at the wall, feeling sick. Did I do this? Is her suicide attempt on me? I called my dad. Dad, what if I went too far? Tom was quiet for a moment. Son, she hurt herself because she got caught and couldn't face the consequences of her own choices. You didn't make her cheat. You didn't make her lie for 18 months. You just stopped protecting her from reality. But the public part. She was planning to divorce you quietly and let everyone think you were the problem. She chose public life. You just chose which version of public. I wasn't entirely convinced. Still aren't some days. Jessica and I met for coffee a week later, first time since graduation. How are you holding up? She asked. Emily's in psychiatric hold, I said. Suicide attempt. Jessica's face went pale. I didn't know. Her mom blames me. Of course she does. It's easier than blaming Emily. Jessica stirred her coffee. Richard lost his medical license. Temporary suspension turned permanent. He's done. How do you feel about that? Empty, she admitted. Watching him lose everything felt good in the moment. Now, I just feel hollow. We sat in silence. Do you regret it? Jessica asked. I don't know yet, I said honestly. The divorce was fast. Emily didn't contest anything. The settlement, she'd pay back $90,000, half of what I'd contributed, from her future earnings. No spousal support because of the adultery clause. Clean split of remaining assets, which wasn't much since most of our money had gone to her loans. Divorce finalized August 2023. I sat in the lawyer's office, signing papers, and realized it's actually over. 4 years of marriage, 18 months of betrayal, 3 months of calculated revenge, all condensed into a signature on a legal document. Emily sent me one letter through the lawyers after she was discharged from psychiatric care. I still have it. She didn't apologize for the affair, said she was sorry I felt neglected, blamed residency culture and Richard's manipulation, said my revenge was disproportionate and cruel, ended with, I hope one day you realize what you did. I wrote a response, never sent it. I realized what you did. That's the whole point. The fall of 2023 was strange. I went back to full-time teaching, took the department chair position I'd turned down before. First day back, standing in front of my classroom, teaching calculus, I had this moment of clarity. I'd forgotten how much I love this, how good it feels to be good at something, to be valued for something other than how invisible you can make yourself. My college friends, Mark, Chris, Tyler, invited me to their weekly poker night. First time in 3 years. It was awkward at first. They'd all seen the videos. Everyone had seen the videos. Tyler broke the ice. So, that was intense. Yeah, I said. Are you okay? Mark asked. Getting there. We played cards, drank beer, didn't talk about Emily, just normal guy stuff. And driving home that night, I realized I'd forgotten what it felt like to just exist, not perform, not sacrifice, not support, just be. I started therapy in October, Dr. Laura Stevens. First session, I told her I didn't know if I was there because I felt guilty or because I felt nothing. Tell me about that, she said. Over the next few months, we unpacked everything. The years of self-erasure, the codependency, the way I'd derived all my self-worth from being needed, the revenge, the question that wouldn't leave me alone. Did I go too far? Dr. Stevens helped me understand something important. The revenge wasn't just about justice. It was about reclaiming power after years of having none. It was extreme, yes, but it came from a real place of violation. Can both things be true? I asked her once. That Emily was wrong and that my method was excessive? Yes, she said simply. You're allowed to hold both truths. It doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you human. Jessica and I stayed in touch. She transferred to a different hospital, needed a fresh start. We'd meet for coffee every few months. Not romantic. Just two people who survived the same explosion. Do you think we responded right? She asked me once. I think we responded human, I said. By spring 2024, I was rebuilding my life. Not the life I'd had before Emily, that guy was gone, but something new. I'd reconnected with friends, restarted hobbies, bought a guitar to replace the one I'd sold to help pay Emily's loans, joined a recreational math teacher program on weekends, helping struggling students. I adopted a dog, golden retriever named Charlie, companionship without complexity. And then, unexpectedly, I met someone new. Her name was Rachel Bennett, 31, worked as a librarian. We met when I was looking for calculus textbooks for my students. She had no idea about the graduation scandal, didn't run in medical circles, didn't use social media much. Our first date was coffee. We talked about books and teaching, normal stuff. Easy conversation. Eventually she asked, "So, what's your story? Past relationships?" I took a breath. "That's a long story. I've got time." So I told her, the marriage, the betrayal, the badge logs, the revenge, the fallout, all of it. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "That's a lot," she finally said. "Yeah, if you want to run, I understand. I don't want to run, but I appreciate you being honest." We dated slowly, carefully. I was hypervigilant about red flags at first, constantly checking for inconsistencies, looking at her location when she said she was somewhere, checking her phone when she left it on the table. 6 months in, Rachel noticed. "You do this thing where you verify everything I say. You check up on me. You look for proof." I felt caught. "I'm sorry. I don't mean to." "It's trauma," she said gently. "I get it. But we need to talk about boundaries. I'll be patient with your trust issues. But you need to actively work on them. I can't be punished forever for what Emily did." She was right. We worked on it together. Slowly I learned to trust again. Not blindly. I don't think I'll ever trust blindly again. But healthily. 1 year after graduation, May 2024, Rachel and I were hiking. Beautiful day. Overlook view of the valley. "Do you still think about her?" Rachel asked. "Sometimes," I admitted. "Not like before. More like remembering a story that happened to someone else." "Do you regret what you did?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "I regret that it had to happen," I said finally. "I don't regret standing up for myself." "Does that make sense?" "Yeah," Rachel said. "It does." I heard through a mutual acquaintance that Emily was working at an urgent care clinic in a different state. Not surgery. She couldn't face the medical community after everything. She's in therapy, apparently doing better. She tried to reach out once via email. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted to say, I understand now. What I did. What I took from you. I'm sorry. I read it. Didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. Richard Hayes lost his medical license permanently. Works at a private clinic now, doing administrative stuff. His ex-wife got full custody. I heard he's dating someone new, not a doctor this time. Jessica became an attending at her new hospital, got promoted. She's dating someone too, not a doctor. "Learn my lesson," she told me. We still text occasionally, friendly but not close. We are reminders of each other's worst period. Me, I'm good, really good. Department chair at the high school. My students love me. I'm the cool math teacher who actually cares. My classroom has decorations now. Posters, plants, photos of math club victories. It feels like mine. Rachel's part of my life, slow and steady and healthy. I've rebuilt my retirement account, halfway to where it was. Still see Dr. Stevens monthly, maintenance therapy. Have dinner with my parents every Sunday, play guitar again, even joined a community open mic night. Last week, a student left a note on my desk after class. "Thanks for believing in me when I didn't believe in myself, Mr. Brooks." I sat there looking at that note for a long time, thinking about who I was 5 years ago. The guy who believed in Emily so much he forgot to believe in himself, thinking about the revenge. Was it right? Was it wrong? Here's where I've landed. It was human, flawed, extreme, but also the moment I stopped being erased, the moment I took control of my own story. Someone once told me that residency was the hardest thing they'd ever go through. Turns out, recovering from betrayal is harder. Rebuilding yourself after you've been systematically dismantled is harder. But you know what? I did it. Not perfectly, not cleanly, but I did it. And that's enough.